Infinite Journeys. A new community render challenge! Let's go! I guess we all know the drill by now. Clint makes a new challenge, I make a submission to the challenge, I make a video about making a submission to the challenge, and I profit off of other people's success. I make a fool of myself to the internet and profit off of my own stuff. I make a fun video on a fun challenge and try to make something interesting. So yeah, speaking of incredibly creative, interesting, and original things, my first idea was to make a generic isekai manga. Why? I had like a very basic idea of some characters on a train running off somewhere, and of course I gave it a very short, mysterious and punchy title like I reincarnated as an S-class adventurer, but after 40 years of adventuring I decided to retire and live a slow life, and one day while clearing a dungeon I found 2 orphan girls and ended up adopting them until I found out they were destined to become the world's greatest swordsman and the world's greatest mage, so now we are being chased by the demon lord. So what? I know the title is mysterious and doesn't give much of the plot away, but basically the main character is this guy that reincarnated in another world because he jumped in front of a plane to save his town where no one even heard about him. After like a while, he started working odd jobs and stuff. So basically that's a frame of what the anime adaptation would look like, but still black and white because I don't want to bother choosing color palettes. So I went from sketch to sketch and decided the poses and then made the whole thing in Blender so I could have some reference from proportions and everything, and then I went back into Krita and started drawing and 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 drawing. It's been 2 weeks, and all I managed to finish was this girl. And somehow the sketch still looks better. I need to get some air.
And it was at that moment that Victor felt something he had only been dreaming about for the past 15 years, as a gust of wind gently ran across his face. He felt freed from his mortal cocoon, from his responsibilities, and even from having to breathe. Something snapped inside of his mind, and on his final moments on this mortal plane, he was reminded of his childhood, when all he ever wanted to do was play around in the dirt.
Let's make some mountains. I have no idea how it ended up like this, but I guess I just had a very creative and useful mental breakdown. Because like in half an hour, I had this pile of dirt that I carefully arranged into becoming this test mountain. So I decided to photoscan it and put it as my background. For some reason, I decided to do this here when I had this spot, which is just perfect. Look, nice even lighting. No sun. There's even like the white building over there to just diffuse the light. So why the fuck did I did it here? I guess there is shadow and the sun is setting down, so but those clouds over there don't look so good. But I was not very fond of it, so I destroyed it. You know what? That gave me a terrible idea. What if I... first, I gotta build another mountain, since I already destroyed this one. And if I'm building another one, why not make it better, right? So I devised a little bit of a better process. First, I filled most of the volume with cardboard boxes, so I didn't have to haul 600 pounds of dirt on top of this makeshift workbench. Then I started surrounding the boxes and covering them up, using those hardened pieces of dirt to simulate big rocks and cliff sides. By the way, I'm taking all of this dirt from under my house's foundation because there's this big patch of very dry dirt with no organic matter, because a single blade of grass will immediately give it away that is miniature. And hopefully, if I keep doing it, my house won't collapse. Wait. After finalizing the main shape of the mountain, I used a sieve to cover everything on a layer of very fine powder. As for the snow, I just used a bag of chalk I stole from a nearby sports gym. Just kidding, it was from my basement. By the way, if you're thinking of reproducing this in some way, shape or form, please be careful with the chalk. It's not very dangerous, but it's hard to work with because if it gets on your lungs, it can be potentially harmful and also dries up your skin like crazy, so use gloves and a mask. Or just, use some other type of fine white powder. Something like more human rated, like table salt. You can get a bag of table salt for cheap and then just throw it on a blender or food mix processor and then just grind it out to a very fine powder. Yeah. Now returning to the fun part, building another bunch of mountains and then destroying them with my bare feet in front of a green screen. So I built a ton of little mountains and then used my cell phone to record myself just looking like an absolute maniac, kicking down a bunch of piles of dirt and then falling on top of everything. And just like that, my inspiration was back, baby! So I used my mountain photoscan as the main background element and then started laying down the green screen elements using the images as planes add-on. By the way, I always forget this is an add-on and then I try to use it on a fresh Blender install and then I get mad because it isn't there. Why is this thing not a feature yet? And you have to activate it every time. For the foreground, I just dressed myself in some black clothes that look vaguely fantasy-esque and recorded myself reading a book in a green screen. And then I randomly decided to just put my dog in the foreground with me. This is Noite. Say hello, Noite. From there, it gets a bit boring because it's just a bunch of tweaking. For example, I had this very harsh sunlight coming in from the window and I didn't have any sunlight on my green screen footage. And I couldn't be bothered to re-record it, so I made a very complicated shader to make a basic light wrap natively in cycles instead of doing it in compositing because it would take me like 4 weeks just to figure out how to do this in compositing. I made the dog also giant and filled the room with books and boom, fantasy. It's done. I'm very proud of how the leg of the giant goes in front of the sun and suddenly all the sunlight coming through the window just vanishes. So yeah, now I'm just left with these very cool mountain photoscans that I could make available to download only to my Patreons. But I don't have a Patreon, so I'm making it available for free. The link's on the description. But you can only download it if you like, subscribe and leave a comment below. It's still free.